Whenever the Joneses pushed Baby X's stroller in the park, smiling strangers would come over and coo, "Is that a boy or a girl?" The Joneses would smile back and say, "It's an X." The strangers would stop smiling then, and often snarl something nasty, as if the Joneses had snarled at them. By the time X grew big enough to play with other children, the Joneses' troubles had grown bigger too. Once a little girl grabbed X's shovel in the sandbox and zonked X on the head with it. "Now, now, Tracy," the little girl's mother began to scold. "Little girls mustn't hit little—" And then she turned to ask X, "Are you a little boy or a little girl, dear?" Mr. Jones, who was sitting near the sandbox, held his breath and crossed his fingers. X smiled politely at the lady, even though X's head had never been zonked so hard in its life. "I'm a little X," X replied. "You're a what?" the lady exclaimed angrily. "You're a little BRAT, you mean." "But little girls mustn't hit little X's either," said X, retrieving the shovel with another polite smile. "What good does hitting do anyway?" X's father, who was still holding his breath, finally let it out, uncrossed his fingers, and grinned back at X. And at their next secret project Baby X meeting, the scientists grinned too. Baby X was doing fine. But then it was time for X to start school. This is full of typos. The Joneses were really worried about this because school was even more full of rules for boys and girls, and there were no rules for X's. The teachers would tell boys to form one line and girls to form another line. There would be boys' games and girls' games, and boys' secrets and girls' secrets. The school library would have a list of recommended books for girls and a different list of recommended books for boys. There would even be a bathroom marked boys and another one marked girls. Pretty soon boys and girls would hardly talk to each other. What would happen to poor little X? The Joneses spent weeks consulting their instruction manual. There were 249.5 pages of advice under first day of school, and attending urgent special conferences with the smart scientists of Project Baby X. The scientists had to make sure that X's mother had taught X how to throw and catch a ball properly, and X's father had been sure to teach X what to serve at a doll's tea party. X had to know how to shoot marbles and how to jump rope, and most of all, what to say when the other children asked whether X was a boy or a girl. Finally, X was ready. The Joneses helped X button on a nice new pair of red and white checked overalls, and sharpened 6 pencils for X's nice new pencil box, and marked X's name clearly on all the books in its nice new book bag. X brushed its teeth and combed its hair, and just about covered its ears, and remembered to put a napkin in its lunchbox. The Joneses had asked X's teacher if the class could line up alphabetically instead of forming separate lines for boys and girls. And they had asked if X could use the principal's bathroom, because it wasn't marked anything except bathroom. X's teacher promised to take care of all those problems, but nobody could help X with the biggest problem of all: other children. Nobody in X's class had ever known an X before. What would they think? How would X make friends? You couldn't tell what X was by studying its clothes. Overalls don't even button right to left like girls' clothes, or left to right like boys' clothes, and you couldn't guess whether X had a girl's short haircut or a boy's long haircut, and it was very hard to tell by the games X liked to play. Either X played ball very well for a girl, or else X played house very well for a boy. Some of the children tried to find out by asking extra tricky questions, like, "Who's your favorite sports star?" That was easy. X had 2 favorite sports stars, a girl jockey named Robin Smith and a boy archery champion named Robin Hood. Then they asked, "What's your favorite TV program?" That was even easier. X's favorite TV program was Lassie, which starred a girl dog played by a boy dog. Oh my god, this is going to be long. I didn't realize the story was so long. Okay. When X said that its favorite toy was a doll, everyone decided that X must be a girl. But then X said the doll was really a robot, and X had computerized it and knew that it was programmed to bake fudge brownies, and clean up in the kitchen. After X told them that, the other children gave up guessing what X was. All they knew was that they'd sure like to see X's doll. After school, X wanted to play with the other children. "How about shooting some baskets in the gym?" X asked the girls, but all they did was make faces and giggle behind X's back. "How about weaving some baskets in the arts and crafts room?" X asked the boys, but they all made faces and giggled behind X's back too. That night, Miss and Mr. Jones asked X how things had gone at school. X told them sadly that the lessons were okay, but otherwise school was a terrible place for an X. It seemed as if other children would never want an X for a friend. Once more, the Joneses reached for their instruction manual. Under Other Children, they found the following message. "What did you expect? Other children have to obey all the silly boy-girl rules because their parents taught them to. Lucky X, you don't have to stick to the rules at all. All you have to do is be yourself. P.S. We're not saying it'll be easy." X liked being itself, but X cried a lot that night, partly because it felt afraid. So X's father held X tight and cuddled it, and couldn't help crying a little too. And X's mother cheered them both up by reading an exciting story about an enchanted prince called Sleeping Handsome, who woke up when Princess Charming kissed him. The next morning they all felt much better, and little X went back to school with a brave smile and a clean pair of red and white checked overalls. There was a 7-letter word spelling bee in class that day, and a 7-lap boys relay race in the gym, and a 7-layer cake baking contest in the girls' kitchen corner. X won the spelling bee. X also won the relay race, and X almost won the baking contest, except it forgot to light the oven, which only proves that nobody's perfect. One of the other children noticed something too. He said, "Winning or losing doesn't seem to count," to X. "X seems to have fun being good at boy skills and girl skills." "Come to think of it," said another one of the other children, "maybe X is having twice as much fun as we are." So after school that day, the girl who beat X at the baking contest gave X a big slice of her prize-winning cake, and the boy X beat in the relay race asked X to race him home. From then on, some really funny things began to happen. Susie, who sat next to X in class, suddenly refused to wear pink dresses to school anymore. She insisted on wearing red and white checked overalls, just like X's. Overalls, she told her parents, were much better for climbing monkey bars. Then Jim, the class football nut, started wheeling his little sister's doll carriage around the football field. He'd put on his entire football uniform except for the helmet. Then he put the helmet in the carriage, lovingly tucked under an old set of shoulder pads. Then he'd start jogging around the field, pushing the carriage and singing "Rock-a-bye Baby" to his football helmet. He told his family that X did the same thing, so it must be okay. After all, X was now the team's star quarterback. Susie's parents were horrified by her behavior, and Jim's parents were worried sick about his. But the worst came when the twins, Joe and Peggy, decided to share everything with each other. Peggy used Joe's hockey skates and his microscope and took half his newspaper route. Joe used Peggy's needlepoint and her notebook and her cookbooks and took 2 of her 3 babysitting jobs. Peggy started to run the lawnmower and Joe started running the vacuum cleaner. I have to stop. I'm not that long-winded.